You know, I've been watching the board meetings, and I keep hearing our fearless leader, Fred Hansen, say that, well, what's happening here in Portland isn't as bad as in other transit districts, and specifically he points to Chicago and New York. He's done that several times now, so it may be kind of interested into, you know, since he's trying to compare us with them, I decided to investigate a little bit of Chicago and New York transit districts. Well, let's look at New York. Okay, New York City train. Number of buses, 4,578 in 2008. 4,578 in 2008. What do we have? 700 buses? So they've got more, 700 versus 4,700. And that doesn't include subways. They have... Let's see here. They rank number 4 in the world with 1.563 billion riders on the subway systems. So it's really a crazy comparison. So let's look at Chicago and see what Chicago is made up out of. Okay, Chicago has 1,971 buses. Okay, that's not like 4,000 buses, but it's more than double the amount of buses we have, and they have 1,190 rail cars, operate over 8 routes and 224 miles of track. So how does that compare to Portland? Well, we know they got more than double the amount of buses. Now, how many trains do they have? You know, it's interesting because when you look at the TriMet statistics, they don't tell you how many buses they have. They don't tell you how many maxes they have. What they do is quote trips. This little trips. 62 million were trips. 62 million trips on buses, 35 million on max, and 124,000 on west. It's interesting that they don't tell you anything about how many miles of track, how many cars and buses. I don't know. They just tell you these trips. They like to quote trips here. They don't give you any hard facts. That's what's interesting about TriMet. They don't ever give you any hard facts. Well, you really can't get any hard data, at least on the public. It's not on the internet available to the public. I'm sure if I wanted to do some looking on the TriNet site, I might be able to find it out. But I know they have something like 600 or 700 buses, and I don't know how many MAX trains they have. But for Fred to be comparing TriMet to New York and Chicago is just really basically an outrage. I mean, the two places have nothing in common at all in terms of how they're operating, and TriMet cuts don't seem as severe, but when you consider that there's thousands and thousands of much more service available to these other places, maybe it's the other way around for all we know. We know that people get affected, but there's been, from all I understand, I don't know enough about the other systems to make any intelligent comment about what's going on there. I'm just questioning Fred's constantly saying, well, we over here in Portland are not as bad as Chicago and New York. And, you know, the other thing that I don't trust about the situation is that TriMet has been very good at slowly phasing this stuff in rather than just, bam, here it is. And so I get the feeling that even this next round of cuts isn't going to be the end of it. You know, I think this is a long haul to change the type of transit system we have here in Portland. I think things are going to be much more changed than what they proposed coming up in, I guess it's September. Well, I did find the amount of TriMet vehicles. 127 total light rail vehicles. It's a hell of a lot less than Chicago, isn't it? Okay, and here's the amount of buses. 660 buses. So, it really is substantially apples and oranges. So, you better stop using New York and Chicago as your examples, Fred. Those systems are far more advanced than Portland is. There's no way you can compare them to ours.